Nice catch, Blanco Nino.
Hey everyone, Kyle here. I've seen a lot of monotype Pokemon challenges lately, and I wanted to try something a little bit different. Today we're going to find out if I can beat Pokemon Emerald version using only physical type moves, with hardcore Nuzlocke rules. Prior to Generation 4, physical and special moves were split by what type the move was, not whether or not it made physical contact. So for example, Blaziken's Blaze Kick is a physical move in Gen 4, but in Generation 3, because it's a fire type move, it's labeled as a special attack. Here are the list of types that I'll have access to. Some of these are pretty strong, however, some of these are not going to be very useful. Having access to ghost type moves is very important, and also a little confusing, but I'll take what I can get. What's going to make this so difficult is not having access to some very important coverage, like electric or ice moves to deal with the dragon and water types of the Elite Four. I'll put a full list of the rules in the description, but in short, I can only use moves categorized as physical types in Generation 3. No items are allowed in battle, and I'm not allowed to overlevel. Let's jump in. I name myself Muscles, and begin the journey by being stuffed into the back of a moving truck, like a piece of furniture. Moving past the early game exposition, I head north and this little girl tells me that there's scary Pokemon ahead and she hears cries, and she can't check out what's happening because she doesn't have any Pokemon. So she tells me to go check it out, which is pretty messed up because I too have no Pokemon. But apparently, that's a risk she's willing to take. I bravely continue on and find Professor Birch being attacked by a Zigzagoon, and he tells me to get a Pokemon from his bag. So I choose Mudkip and save the day. For all of my heroic actions, I'm rewarded with the Mudkip that I chose, and I name him Kip. I continue on my journey and I have a battle with May, but she's no match for us. We return to the lab and we receive our 5 Pokeballs, and the challenge has officially begun. There are a handful of Pokemon in the early game that I would consider to be essential for this run, and not running into any of them is going to make it very challenging. Even getting through the first gym might be impossible. That's the story of attempt number 1. I won't have access to a fighting move, and because I can't use water or grass moves, Kip's Mudslap is the primary move that I'll have to damage the rock Pokemon. Mudslap only has 10 PP and only 20 base power, so this is a pretty rough move to lean on. I ended up catching a Wingull, a Zigzagoon, a Poochyena, a Wurmple, and a Nincada. None of those are going to help me beat the first gym. I missed some important counters like Tailo for later on as well, so I decided that if Kip can't beat this gym on his own, then it's not meant to be, and if not, I'll move on to attempt number 2. Kip struggles to make it past the first Geodude, and with that, we're on to attempt 2. In attempt number 2, I start off with the same name and the same starter, but this time around, I get a few different encounters. I still do get a Poochyena, a Wurmple, and a Wingull, but this time around, I get Wurmple before the Petalburg Woods, which is huge because that opens up a bunch of new encounters. Then, I run into a Marill. I have never once used a Marill through any of my playthroughs in all the years I've been playing Pokemon. I can't use its water moves, and its base stats are mediocre. However, this Marill has the ability Huge Power, and a naughty nature, which is plus attack. Huge Power is insanely strong for a Nuzlocke, or any playthrough for that matter. It doubles the attack stat of a Pokemon with that ability. This turns Mary the Marill into a killing machine. At level 15, she learns the move Rollout, which is the level cap for the first gym. She also already knows the move Defense Curl, which doubles the attack of the move Rollout if I've used Defense Curl prior to using Rollout. In addition to Mary, I go on and I catch a Shroomish, whose move pool isn't really useful right now, but it has the ability Effect Spore, which might come in handy. And then a Whismur, which... but I'll take it, I guess. This time around, I feel a lot better about the Pokemon that I caught. Even though I still didn't get a Tailo, it's not going to be useful for the first gym anyways. So, we're on to Roxanne. I lead with Kip and go for Mudslap, and her Geodude misses a Rock Tomb. We get in another Mudslap, and due to the accuracy drop, she misses again. After a third Mudslap, Geodude does hit us with a Rock Tomb and lowers our speed. After hitting another Rock Tomb, I decide to switch in X-Cloud and get rid of the speed drops while she heals her Geodude with a potion. I start going for Howl to boost our attack, but we get hit with a Rock Tomb and a Rock Throw, but heal up due to the Oran Berry. Geodude starts setting up defense curls, so I go for Astonish, but now we're slower thanks to the Rock Tomb, so we can't get the flinch chance. After a few more defense curls and missed rock throws from Geodude, it goes down and she sends in the second one. We keep an X-Cloud and we go for another Astonish, but Geodude takes us to just 10 HP, so I have to switch out. I send in Lumi and hope to get a proc from the effects board, but unfortunately we don't. I don't have a clean switch, so I sacrifice Wurmpu so I can get Kit back in there cleanly. We get hit with a couple of Rock Tombs, and then Roxanne heals with another potion. This isn't looking great, and we get taken down to just 5 HP, so we have to switch. I send in Mary, and Geodude misses a rock throw. I then have Mary set up a few defense curls. After being hit with 2 Rock Tombs, I decide to start going for rollout. The first doesn't do too much damage, and then the second one misses. Great. We start over, and Geodude starts going for defense curl, and the third hit from rollout takes it out. In comes Nosepass, who starts to use Harden, but it's too late, and rollout does huge damage. She has no more potions, and we hit the last rollout, and we get the win. After the battle, Kip evolves into a Marsh Stomp and learns the move Mudshot, which would have made all of this a lot easier if we could have just used that before the battle, but this is fine. It's fine. I'm fine. After getting our first badge, I defeat the Team Aqua Grunt that stole the Wingull from Mr. Briny, then challenged May to a battle. I regrettably lock Exploud into Uproar, and she takes a bunch of damage from Wingull, and as Trico comes in, I realize that I've doomed Exploud, and if she doesn't stop causing an uproar, she's gonna faint. That was a completely avoidable mistake, and as somebody who's going to be relying on rollout for future battles, a good lesson to take with me for the rest of the run. Because we saved Mr. Briny's Wingull, he offers to sail us to Dewford Town so we can deliver the letter to Steven. In Granite Cave, we encounter a Zubat, which for now is somewhat useless, even though its poison and flying type should be great against the upcoming gym. Unfortunately, Zubat doesn't learn the move Wing Attack until after the level cap. I name him Sonic, and later on he can become a Crobat, which is an awesome Pokemon, but for now, he isn't all that useful. While grinding up the team in preparation for Brawly, Mary evolves into a Azumarill. Looking back on the footage, it seems like I forgot to update the death counter. It should say 8. My apologies for that. Next up is the fighting gym. Usually Brawly can be pretty difficult, but Gulliver just spams Wing Attack and sweeps his entire team. See, I don't need Tailo. I'm not upset at all. That earns us badge number 2. I head over to Slateport to find Captain Stern, and after taking care of the Aqua Grunts, Archie comes in, and instead of handling this himself, he just complains about the Grunts while calling them simps. Okay. After he leaves, we deliver the goods, and we head over to Route 110, and run into a Gulpin that I catch and I name Big Gulp. Continuing on, we're challenged by May. This battle can also be quite difficult, but I'm feeling pretty confident the team can handle it. I lead with Mary and go for rollout, not thinking about how I've locked her into this move without boosting it with defense curl, and panic sets in as I realize I might have doomed her as well as Grovyle comes in. Fortunately, Mary takes Absorb like a champ, and rollout does big damage. She tanks another Absorb and takes out the Grovyle. Last in is Slugma, but Mary continues on her rampage, and she takes it out as well. That could have been pretty bad. And surely I'm going to learn from this mistake that could have cost me 2 team members. Obviously, I'll never put someone in that situation again. Obviously, I know better. Right? Right. So we defeat May and I head over to Mauville, where Wally is blocking the door to the gym and won't move until after we battle him. So we quickly take down his Ralts and send him packing. We head back to the gym and I challenge Watson. I'm not going to lie, I considered not starting with Mudkip specifically because of how easy this battle becomes when you have a ground Pokemon. But the other 2 starters would have made getting past Roxanne much more difficult, and I wanted to have a slightly easier time progressing through the early game instead of constantly resetting and hoping for good RNG. I feel like I'm pretty good at Nuzlocking, but I'm definitely not an expert, so I'm trying to find a good balance of making runs challenging, but not so much that they become frustrating. The point of these Nuzlocks first and foremost should be to have fun, and if you're thinking about doing a run of your own, always remember, prioritize fun before anything else. After we defeat Watson, I head back to the Rustdrift Tunnel, where I see a damsel in distress. This is my time to shine. We display our superior ability to smash rocks, and her boyfriend thanks us by giving us the HM for strength. And then they leave together and leave us in the dust, sitting, pondering, wondering how we ended up in the friend zone once again. In spite of the heartbreak, I press on and I make it to the next route, where I encounter a Numel that I catch and I name Chloe. Chloe has a brave nature, which is plus attack and minus speed. Shout out to the comments section for helping me correct my previous mistake in the last video, where I must have written down the wrong thing and read through it without processing it. Comments are always appreciated. I know I'm not perfect, and I want to correct as many mistakes as I possibly can. In Fiery Path, I encounter a Coughing, which is actually pretty solid. Poison is one of the few types that we have access to that can cause a status effect, considering we can't use stuff like Sleep Powder or Thunder Wave. And in case we need a sacrifice, Coughing does learn self-destruct. I catch him and I name him Exxon. After a trainer battle, Sonic evolves into Golbat, and then after another level, into a Crobat. Crobat is a great Pokemon, and I'm really glad to have it. Because we do have one, the only possible encounters in Meteor Falls are Solrock and Lunatone. After running into a literal dozen Zubat, I finally encounter a Solrock, which is great because of the two, it has the better physical attack stat. I catch it and I name it Ra. Then we stumble upon Team Magma hanging out in a cave and bullying a scientist. Archie comes along and tells me Team Magma is a dangerous group of total fanatics. After demonstrating a glaring lack of self-awareness, he leaves and we go back and add Ra to the team. Ra has a bold nature, which is plus defense and minus attack. Oh well, still going to be useful against the fire and the flying gyms. Let's go see what nature Exxon has and... oof. I continue on to Mount Chimney where Team Aqua and Team Magma are battling one another. We defeat the grunts and the admin, and then we make our way to Maxie. He talks for a while, and then challenges us to a battle. I lead with Lumi, who takes an Intimidate from Mightyena, and a Mach Punch does just under half as we get hit with a Sand Attack. We manage to land another one, and he goes for a Super Potion, but now he's in range to be 2-hit KO with Mach Punch. Maxie then sends out Camerupt. We switch in Mary, who tanks a Magnitude, and I once again lock her into Rollout, forgetting that it does neutral damage here. But thankfully, he just goes for a Focus Energy and bails us out, and we take him out. Okay. Now I'll definitely remember to consider those consequences of locking into a move like Rollout. I'll never be in this situation again. I head down to Jagged Pass and I catch a Machop that I name Beef. I train up the team, and then we're ready to take on Flannery. I lead off with Mary and set up a defense curl, as her Nummel whiffs a takedown. We then start to roll out, which does big damage, and knocks it out in 2 hits. Mary then proceeds to OHKO her entire team, including her Torkoal, which is usually a serious problem. If you ever get a huge power Meryl for a Nuzlocke, use it. Flannery goes down with ease, and we earn our 4th badge. We leave the gym and May gives us goggles so we can head into the desert area, and while checking the team, I realize somewhere along the line, we got Pokerus, which is awesome. For those of you who don't know, Pokerus is extremely rare. It's a, quote, Pokemon virus that causes Pokemon to gain double the EVs in battle. It has a 1 in 21,845 chance of happening, which is more rare than encountering a shiny Pokemon. We head to the desert and I find Mirage Tower, and I use repels to make sure that I can get to the fossil without an encounter along the way, and we take the Claw fossil. I head back to Rustboro City and I resurrect the fossil and I name her Annie. Annie has a mild nature, which is plus special attack and minus defense, which is terrible because we can't use any special moves. This would be the first and an absolutely mind-blowing amount of plus special attack nature Pokemon that I encounter along the way. It's like the game was taunting me. The 5th gym is next, and in preparation, I evolve Beef into a Machoke. I have 2 fighting Pokemon for this battle, and I'm feeling pretty good. It's time to show the old man who's boss. Prior to the battle, I poison Beef because he has the ability Guts. Our dad leads off with a Spinda, who takes a Karate Chop to the face and goes down. Next is Vigoroth, whose Slash doesn't do much, and goes down to a Karate Chop as well. Linoon comes in next and hits us with Slash, but due to the poison, Beef is now low health, so when Slaking comes in, I decide my best bet is to sacrifice Beef instead of switching someone in on an attack. I send Lumi in and I go for a Mach Punch, which happens to crit, as Slaking is loafing around, but it puts it in the Citrus Berry range. I go for another Mach Punch, but Slaking retaliates with a counter and OHKOs Lumi. That one hurt. I send in Exxon and I go for a Smoke Screen while it's loafing around, and then realize Sludge might not kill it, and I don't want him to use a potion because I've already lost both fighting Pokemon. So, I decide Exxon has to pay the ultimate price, and go for a self-destruct. That battle was rough from a loss standpoint, as 3 of the 6 members went down. However, aside from Breloom, the other 2 weren't really part of the long-term plans, and the next gym is a flying-type gym. So, for now, their losses won't be too impactful on anything except for my emotions. We get access to Surf after defeating the gym, and on Route 115 we get an awesome encounter. Tailo. Tailo has the Guts ability, and now we have the TM for Facade after defeating the last gym, which can make Zippy incredibly powerful. We continue on through Route 119 and make it to the Weather Institute, where Team Aqua is holed up. So we defeat the grunts and we take on the admin. She doesn't put up much of a fight though. Now that Team Aqua isn't blocking the bridge, I continue on and it's time for another rival battle with May. May leads off with Slugma, and I lead with Ra, who OHKOs with a rock throw. Lombre is in next, so I switch in Sonic, who takes a fake out, and then OHKOs with a wing attack. Last up is Grovyle, but he too is no match for a wing attack. I skip through the town and I head over to Route 120, and I run into an Absol, who I name Abby. As I had mentioned before, Abby is one of many Pokemon that I get with a plus special attack nature. Absol is an interesting Pokemon. She has an insane attack stat and is moderately fast, but even without the restrictions, her move pool is pretty narrow, and we can't take advantage of the Dark type. But she does learn the move Swords Dance, which can be useful later on. Grinding up for the gym, Zippy evolves into a Swallow. Winona is the next gym leader, and her team is terrifying. I do have some rock moves to counter her flying Pokemon, and I plan on leading with Mary, setting up a bunch of defense curls on her Swablu, and hoping I can sweep with Rollout. The problem here is that her Swablu knows Perish Song, which can cause big problems if we get stuck in a Rollout. After that, she has a Tropius, which has a type advantage over us, and then a Pelipper with a base 100 defense, and it knows the move Protect. Then her Skarmory Steel type causes another problem, and it's got a base 140 defense. Her last Pokemon is the famed Dragon Dancing Altaria. This is going to be tough. I lead with Mary and I start setting up defense curls. After setting up 4, I decide it's time to start going for Rollout because I don't want to risk her using a Perish Song. Thankfully we OHKO the Swablu. Tropius comes in next, but it too goes down in a single hit. So far so good. Then the Pelipper comes in and hits us with a 55% accurate Supersonic, and of course we hit ourselves in Confusion. Then this thing proceeds to alternate between Protect and Attacks. It stops our Rollout momentum multiple times, and the one time it doesn't go for Protect, we miss. Eventually, after a very long, very annoying battle, we take out Pelipper, but we had to use our Citrus Berry and lost our Rollout momentum as the Skarmory comes in. It uses Sand Attack, but thankfully we hit both of our Rollouts and KO it. Last is Altaria. It goes for Dragon Breath, but we avoid Paralysis, and Mary hits one last Rollout, and solo kills Winona. Wow. Azumarill with huge power is an absolute beast. After the last gym battle where we lost 3 Pokemon, I'm amazed no one went down in this fight, and we've earned our 6th badge. After beating the gym, we continue on and we encounter a Shuppet, which is huge because for whatever reason, Ghost moves are physical in Gen 3, which I've mentioned in both Gen 3 runs that I've done, and I'll continue to do so in all future Gen 3 runs, because it makes no sense. And I figure if I say it out loud often enough, maybe something will click, or someone will explain to me why this is the case. Either way, I catch him and I name him Randy. We get to Lily Cove and May is blocking the entrance to the department store, so we quickly defeat her one final time. Our next level cap is 42 for Tate and Liza, a battle that I'm dreading because I make a critical mistake that I'll explain a bit later. But in the meantime, Kip evolves into a Swampert. Then we catch a Duskull at Mount Pyre, who I named Daisy, who has a, you guessed it, plus special attack nature. I'm unsure what I did to deserve this level of torture, but just know, I'm deeply sorry for whatever it is, and I promise I'll never do it again. Then after watching Archie take the wrong orb because he's an idiot, we continue on grinding and we evolve Randy into a Banette before heading back to Jagged Pass, and make our way through the Team Magma hideout to find Maxie, who's also an idiot. Feeling inadequate about his peanut-sized brain, Maxie takes out his anger on me and he challenges us to another battle. I lead off with Sonic to tank the Intimidate, and then use Confuse Ray, so I can swap in Mary. I set up a defense curl, and Mighty Anna hits us with Swagger, which is pretty dangerous, but we break through and hit a Rollout. Then, Mary snaps out of Confusion, and with +2 attack, absolutely roll Maxie. Thanks for the help, pal. After dealing with Team Magma, it's time to take on Team Aqua. We make it through the hideout and we stomp the admin, but the submarine escapes, and we can't do much about it, so for now we leave them alone, and then we continue on to Moss Deep City. This is where we prep for an incredibly difficult battle with Tate and Liza. Normally what I would do is I would use 2 powerful water Pokemon and spam Surf, but we can't do that here. This is where I make a mistake. What I could have done is use the TM for Shadow Ball and Absol, then take out the Claydol before it can Earthquake us, and take advantage of the Dark type's immunity to Psychic. What I did instead was convince myself that I had to use Randy's high base attack and stab advantage, and use the TM for Shadow Ball on him even though he learns the move at level 48, and use him and Daisy to take them out. This has a ripple effect for how I play the remainder of the run, and certainly makes things more difficult, albeit not impossible, so let's see how it goes. I decided to split the attacks because I don't want Xatu setting up Calm Minds, and I know Shadow Ball will OHKO. We tank an Earthquake from Claydol, take out Xatu, and Shadow Punch does about half to Claydol. We OHKO the Lunatone with Shadow Ball, then we have to avoid a crit from Earthquake, which fortunately we do. And our Citrus Berries heal us up after Shadow Punch just misses a KO on Claydol. I decided to switch in Sonic anticipating another Earthquake, but didn't think about them using a potion for some reason, so that was a mistake. Solrock is charging up Solar Beam and I don't know who it's targeting, and decide I can't risk switching in either of the water Pokemon, and I can't send Annie out on an Earthquake if another one's coming. I leave Sonic in and go for Astonish, hoping to get a flinch, but fortunately Claydol's Earthquake only hits Daisy, who tanks it pretty well. And then Solar Beam comes in on Sonic, who's 4 times resistant to grass moves. Shadow Punch then takes out the Claydol, and now just Solrock is left. I send in Annie no longer having to fear Earthquakes, and switch out Sonic anticipating a Psychic, but for some reason Solrock goes for another Solar Beam without using Sunny Day first. I swap Mary back out for Sonic, and a combination of Astonish and Metal Claws take down Solrock and earn us the win. All things considered, this went very well. However, Shadow Ball and Absol would have made it a lot easier, and it would also make Phoebe and the Elite Four easier to deal with, which I'll explain a bit later on as well. In the end, we earn our 7th badge, and we didn't lose anybody in battle, and I'll certainly take that. I head over to the Space Center where Team Magma is holed up, and after defeating some grunts, I had a double battle with Steven Stone. I chose to take Mary, Kip, and Sonic into the battle, and we take on Team Magma. Unlike most double battles, Steven's Metang actually does useful things like set up Light Screen and Reflect, and it actually does damage when it attacks. Mary, on the other hand, hits herself twice in confusion thanks to Swagger, so I send in Kip, who KOs Camerupt with a Mud Shot. Golbat comes in next and Metang OHKOs with a crit Metal Claw. Nice. I send in Sonic after Kip gets hit with an Intimidate, and another Swagger boosts Metang's attack, and it breaks through and OHKOs with another Metal Claw. Steven is carrying us here. Together, we take out the remaining Camerupt and Crobat and defeat Team Magma. Now that we have the HM for Dive, we head over to Team Aqua's hideout and make our way to Archie. I did not take this battle seriously enough, and that was a terrible idea. Never get complacent in a Nuzlocke. I lead off with Mary and I use Defense Curl. Anticipating a Swagger, I equip her with a Prison Berry, and 2 rollout take out the Mightyena. Crobat comes in and hits us with Confuse Ray and stops our rollout. Then I switch into Annie, who gets hit surprisingly hard by a couple of wing attacks and survives on the red, so I swap in Daisy and Archie uses a Super Potion. We get confused and I swap Mary back in, and I once again lock into rollout, and at 38 HP, Sharpedo comes in. It goes for a slash, and thank God it doesn't crit, as we survive on just 10 HP. But then, we hit rollout, and Rough Skin takes us down to just 1 HP. Wow. I didn't consider a lot of those scenarios because we'd been cruising through the Team Aqua and Magma battles. I got so lucky Mary didn't go down there. After the battle, Archie and Maxie argue over which one of them is the bigger idiot for grabbing the wrong orb, and then we head over to Sutopolis, where we find Groudon and Kyogre staring at each other, and then we're introduced to Wallace at the Cave of Origin, and he asks me, a child, where to find this legendary Pokemon Rayquaza. So after I answer, he runs off, and I head over to the Sky Pillar to find Rayquaza, who flies off and shouts at Groudon and Kyogre, and they stop fighting. And once again it appears that I've saved the day. Now that all of that hoopla is taken care of, we can focus on the real goal, defeating the 8th gym and taking on the Elite Four. We don't have any type coverage available to us to deal with water Pokemon, so looking through the Pokemon I do have available to me, I realize that in one level, Abby is going to learn the move Swords Dance. With Pokerus, it should be pretty easy to EV train her an attack on the route that we caught her on, as a large percentage of the wild Pokemon we encounter are Mightyena and Absol. We then head back to the gym, where we're given the HM for Waterfall, and make our way to Juan. Because he leads off with Love Disc, and Abby happens to be a female Absol, we can set up on Love Disc and avoid being hit with Attract. I have Prison Berry equipped, but Love Disc misses Sweet Kiss, and neither Water Pulse confuses us. We level up and, wow, plus 10 attack. It's crazy how much of a difference EV training can make. Abby then proceeds to outspeed and sweep the remainder of Juan's Pokemon until the Kingdra comes in, which lands an Ice Beam and takes Abby to just 26 HP. Thankfully, we avoid a crit and a freeze, and we take it down with Slash. Now we've earned all 8 badges, and we can prepare for Victory Road and the Elite Four. Once we've made it to Victory Road, we have one final battle with Wally. There isn't really too much to say about it though, so instead I'm going to talk about the game plan for the Elite Four. As mentioned earlier, using the TM for Shadow Ball and Randy instead of Absol hurts for the Elite Four. Because of this, I thought I had to take Randy with me just to defeat Phoebe, instead of just using Abby and opening up a space for a different team member. But then I realized I could still set up Swords Dance on the first Dusclops and sweep with Aerial Ace. I end up deciding to leave Randy and Annie behind and add Zippy to the team instead. I settle on a level cap of 55, as the first 3 members will be pretty easy regardless of the team being overleveled or not, and the last two will be difficult even with matching Drake's level cap. We don't have any type coverage to deal with water Pokemon or dragon Pokemon, aside from Salamence and Altaria who are part flying. This is the team I decided to roll with. I pre-burned Zippy on a wild Slugma to take advantage of the Guts ability and stab Facade. I also taught Abby Substitute from the move tutor in Lily Cove. The first Pokemon on most Elite Four teams in Emerald like to use setup moves or Protect, allowing us to set up Substitute and Swords Dances. Let's do this. First up is Sydney. I lead with Sonic to take Intimidate, and then I swap in Mary. She gets hit with a Sand Attack, but lands a Brick Break and OHKOs the Mighty Anna. Cacturn is next, so I swap Sonic back in and take it out with Sludge Bomb. But thanks to the speed drop, the Shift Tree now outspeeds us and goes for a double team, and we miss our Sludge Bomb. I know it knows Extra Sensory, but no Grass moves, so I send Mary back in, who clutches a Brick Break and OHKOs the Shift Tree. Unfortunately, Mary got hit with Torment, so we can't use Brick Break on Crawdaunt, so I send in Kip, who just misses a KO with Earthquake. He heals up and we take it out with 2 more hits. Last is Absol, so I go for an Earthquake and he too lives on a Sliver, but ultimately meets the same fate as Crawdaunt. 1 down. Next is Phoebe, and because of the Shadow Ball fiasco that I mentioned earlier, I have to set up 3 Swords Dance in order to KO with Aerial Ace. Fortunately, her first Dusclop's only attacking move is Shadow Punch, which won't even do enough to break the Substitute. We waste a turn going for Protect, and we set up 3 Swords Dance, and proceed to sweep the entire team with Aerial Ace. 2 down. Third is Glacia, and she can be a bit tricky, but like Phoebe, she likes to use a setup move first, and go for Hail, allowing Mary to set up a Defense Curl to boost our rollout. We're then outsped and get hit with a Body Slam and get paralyzed, but fortunately we had a Cherry Berry equipped. The first rollout takes it into heal range, and the second takes it down. Next in is Glalie, who just goes for Light Screen. Then Mary hits a crit and OHKOs. Then the second Sealo comes in and Mary misses her rollout, and then gets hit with Blizzard to about half. Here you can see I finally learned my lesson about rollout, and contemplate for a while whether I should risk going for it, and ultimately I decided it's worth the risk, and 2 hits KO the Sealo. But then the next Glalie comes in and hits us with Ice Beam and freezes us. Great. Now I have to switch and send in Kip, who tanks an Ice Beam, then hits Earthquake but Glalie survives, and hits another Ice Beam. I go for another Earthquake after she heals and then Strength takes it out. Last up is her Walrein, so I send in Daisy, who gets hit pretty hard with Surf. We set up Toxic and then we go for a Confuse Ray after our Citrus Berry heals us. We use Protect and I realize I can't switch somebody in to tank a hit from this thing. So I decide the only shot is sacrificing Daisy if it doesn't hit in Confusion, and thankfully, she does. Then, I make a terrible mistake. I forgot that she used both potions, and anticipating another one, I go for Toxic instead of Protect. But amazingly enough, we get great Confusion luck, and it bails us out, and then she goes down to Toxic. I did not deserve to leave that battle without losing a Pokemon. That was an inexcusable error and we got bailed out by great luck. But sometimes, you just get lucky. And that's 3 members down. Now here's where it gets real tough. Drake. Drake's Dragon Pokemon all have strong attacks and good coverage. And we don't have any super effective moves for anybody except for Salamence and Altaria. I do know Shelgon will spam Protect, so I take the opportunity and I lead with Abby and attempt to set up. I go for a Swords Dance on the Protect turn, and go for another as Shelgon uses Protect again. Nice. I set up a third, but this time we get hit with a Rock Tomb, which drops our speed. Not good. We still outspeed and we OHKO with Return, but now we definitely won't outspeed the more serious threats on the team. Altaria comes in and hits us hard with Double Edge before going down to a Return as well. The Citrus Berry heals us, and I risk a crit and Abby survives on just 17 HP from a Surf and OHKO's Kingdra. Flygon comes in and now I definitely have to switch. I'm not sure what move it's going to go for, so I send in Sonic and he tanks a Crunch pretty well. Then I go for Confuse Ray, but he hits us with a Flamethrower. I send in Mary hoping for another Flamethrower, but this time we get hit with Dragon Breath and get paralyzed. Awesome. I leave her in and I go for Brick Break, and our Citrus Berry heals us. Then she takes an Earthquake and puts Flygon into heal range. I know we have a clean switch here, so I send in Zippy, whose Stab and Guts boosted Facade crits and obliterates the Flygon. Salamence comes in, and because of Intimidate, I have to switch out. Anticipating a Rock Slot, I send in Kit, who knows Rollout due to the move tutor in Mauville. Dragon Claw does big damage, and we're locked in a Rollout. And this time, we're not going to get away with it. I know Kip is about to go down, and I have to watch as our starter drops. But it allows for a clean switch back into Zippy, who can now outspeed and knock it out with Facade. Rest easy, Kip. Your death will not be in vain. We're still 5 members strong, and we're on to the champion, Wallace. We can't afford to set up on Wailord, as it isn't a guarantee to go for a Rain Dance, and the rest of its moves will put a big dent in Abby's health. so I lead with Zippy. Guts boosted Facade is insanely strong. We Oko Wailord, and then we Oko the Tentacruel. Next in is Milotic, and we go for Facade, and it lives on 1 HP, and retaliates with an Ice Beam, and KOs Zippy. Turns out that one was a range to kill. I know he's about to heal, so I set up with a Swords Dance, and then anticipating a Toxic, I go for a Substitute, but it goes for Surf and he breaks it. I need to attempt to get another Swords Dance, so I go for another one, and this time he does use Toxic. Come on, man. Thankfully, the 2 Swords Dance were enough, and we KO with Return. Next in is Ludicolo, who goes down to an Aerial Ace. Then Whiscash comes in, and if Wallace had sent in Gyarados to use Intimidate instead, we could have been in serious trouble. Whiscash goes down, and Gyarados is the last up. I decide instead of switching, I can sacrifice Abby and get a clean switch into Daisy, but a Return manages to Oko even through the attack drop from Intimidate. What a mad lad. Gyarados goes down, and we've done it. We've beaten the Elite Four. That was really fun. I used quite a few new Pokemon, specifically Azumarill, that I've never used in a normal Nuzlocke run. She was so strong and carried us through a ton of battles. I've been seeing a lot of monotype runs lately, so I thought doing something kind of different would be a nice change of pace. I certainly plan on going back to doing some monotype runs in the future, but I find some of these more obscure restrictions to be interesting, so if you have any ideas, feel free to let me know in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming challenges. I just want to take a second to thank all of the new viewers and subs that I've gotten recently. I never thought in a million years anybody would even come across these videos, and all of the support and the kind comments mean the world to me. I truly do appreciate every single one of you. Also, I'd like to apologize with the delay in the video. I had to re-record the audio twice, and I've been a little bit busy lately. But I'm going to try to upload as often as I can. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, I'll catch you later.